Tekken 7 has the dumbest story ever written. Now that's a pretty strong statement, but don't worry, I'm gonna explain in detail why I think so. I just want to make it clear first that I'm not trying to be unnecessarily down on this game. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see that I've made hundreds of videos talking about this game over the last few years, and I think you can draw two conclusions from that. One is that I don't have a life, but the other is that I probably really like this game, and I really do. I'd go as far as saying that I actually love it. I think it's a masterpiece. I have some concerns with the way it's being balanced and monetized lately, but that doesn't mean that I don't think it's one of the greatest fighting games of all time. My enjoyment of Tekken 7 also has nothing to do with its story. I'm one of those competitive players where I don't really care about the story at all. I think it's nice that it's there in the background so that there's some context for the characters to exist in, but I would play the game in the exact same way and enjoy it just as much if the story wasn't there at all. But I had this idea for a video where we go through the story of Tekken 7 and think about what might happen next in that story, and during the course of making that I made an interesting discovery, mainly the fact that Tekken 7 has the dumbest story ever written. Now I get it, the story of a fighting game is not something that most people expect to be Shakespeare, and there's no real point to me nitpicking this story, except for the fact that it's so dumb that overanalyzing it is really funny to me. A valid criticism that I will probably get on this video is, if you have so many opinions about the story, why don't you try and write something better yourself? And I actually already did. I sat up last night and I rewrote the story of Tekken 7 the way I would have done it if it were my job. Now, I'm not a talented storyteller at all, but I did have a dream of becoming a novelist when I was a kid, and I did grow up writing stories. I've never published anything because I'm talentless and my stuff is crap, but I have written stories before, and so I just tried it. If you think it sounds interesting at all, then let me know, and maybe after I'm done making this, I will upload and narrate my own version of how I think the story could have gone instead. But enough about that, let's get to the actual story of Tekken 7. I'm going to assume that if you're watching this, you've played through the campaign, or at least watched the YouTube videos of what happens in the story. I actually had to watch the whole thing twice because I was so confused after the first one that I had to go back with a notebook and try and make sense of everything. But I've broken my critique of this narrative down to three main issues, and I'm just going to start here with the first one. Number 1. Heihachi's plan is the most convoluted and idiotic thing in the history of fiction. Heihachi Mishima comes across as the most senile and stupid person imaginable in this story. His plan for world domination has so many insane and completely pointless layers that I had to stop the video more than 10 times and do special breathing exercises to not fall off the edge and go batshit insane, but I'm going to break it down for you here, so get this. After he punches his way back into control of his family company, Heihachi sits down and exposes his master plan to his underlings. Step 1. He magically appears on TV screens across the world, announcing that he's back in control of the Zaibatsu and about to host a massive martial arts competition, the King of Iron Fist tournament. Step 2. He travels to Italy and fights an ancient order of warrior monks. He then shows their leader Claudio evidence that Kazuya is a demon, so that they will help him spread that information to the public through their extremely vague secret network. He thinks this will turn public opinion against Kazuya and the G Corporation, making himself look like a savior by comparison. Step 3. He wants to announce this, whatever the fuck that means, at the King of Iron Fist tournament because it's the perfect stage to do so. This is the only reason he is hosting the tournament in the first place. Step 4. Capture Jin for important reasons that he will explain later. So, if you've digested that, then you probably have a couple of questions. Here are some of the questions that I wrote down. Question number 1. If the idea is to show people evidence that Kazuya is a demon at a major public event like a tournament, why does he also need an order of Italian exorcists to help him spread that information? Wouldn't it spread anyway once the announcement was made? Question number 2. Heihachi obviously already has a much more powerful information network than Claudio. He's the owner of the most powerful geopolitical entity on the face of the earth and has the magical ability to appear on TV screens whenever he wants to make announcements. Why can't he just appear on TV again and show everyone the same evidence that Kazuya is a demon that he showed to Claudio, achieving his entire goal right away? Question number 3. Why would Heihachi care about winning a public relations battle with the G Corporation instead of focusing on winning the giant war for total world domination? Will having a better public image really matter at all in that conflict? Question number 4. Why does he need Jin? Well, guess what? He doesn't. He forgets about it and never mentions it again for the rest of the game. That's a big problem because 2 of the major action scenes in the game, Lee and Elisa fighting the Tekken force at Violet Systems and Nina attacking Lars' secret hideout, both happen because Heihachi wants Jin captured. If he's never going to explain why he wants Jin and it leads to nothing, that means that both of these scenes have no context to exist in. So the story is already so convoluted and nonsensical that it becomes impossible to follow, but hey, it's only about to get so much worse. Claudio goes to Heihachi's evil control room and sees a picture of Jin. He says that he's heard that Jin has even more powerful devil powers than Kazuya, which makes no sense because Claudio only learned that Kazuya has devil powers in the previous scene. He then mentions that something inhuman has been spotted in the Far East. It's a strange thing to say because presumably they're all currently in Japan, which is in the Far East, but whatever. This inhuman thing is our introduction to Akuma. Soon after, Akuma attacks Heihachi in his dojo and defeats him. Heihachi somehow survives and decides to change his entire plan. He cancels the tournament. I laughed for like a minute when that happened because it was so clear that whoever was writing this story realized that the King of Iron Fist tournament was completely fucking pointless and decided to get rid of it instead of just not putting it in the story to begin with. Heihachi's new master plan is to just wait until Akuma tries to kill Kazuya. He's going to live stream Kazuya transforming into devil during that fight to the world, again somehow using Claudio for that, and then blow up both Kazuya and Akuma using his orbital space laser. Now, the reason Heihachi randomly changing his plan like this is a really big problem for the story is it means that every single thing that has happened in it so far has led to nothing and not mattered at all. It also leads to another big question. If you have a giant space laser that you think can kill Kazuya aimed at the building where you know Kazuya is, why haven't you just fired it already and won the war? Anyway, the fight happens and Claudio says that he's done his part. It's never explained what that is, by the way. We cut to Lars and friends seeing the event on the news and not through some Italian network, which makes sense because, you know, that's what would happen. And now Claudio is just gone from the story, meaning that he didn't say or do a single thing that mattered, and there was no reason for him to be in the story at all. Public opinion, which is like a weird MacGuffin in this story, instantly turns against Kazuya when people see that he's a devil. Then, and I have to pause for dramatic effect here, the stupidest thing in the entire story happens. Kazuya shoots his forehead laser into space, destroying the Zaibatsu's satellite, making it crash into a city. Before it has even hit the ground, the news are reporting that Heihachi shot down his own satellite, and public opinion instantly turns back against him. Again, I've written down a couple of questions. Why do people instantly assume that Heihachi shot down his own satellite? Why can the news see the satellite crashing down but not see Kazuya destroying it? Why do the public in this story have one single opinion that shifts instantly one way or the other? Anyway, after this, Kazuya and Heihachi just go to a volcano and have a fist fight to the death. This is the culmination of the entire story, but nothing has culminated in it. Not a single thing that happens leads to another in a way that makes sense. There is literally no reason why Heihachi and Kazuya can't just go to this volcano and fight each other right away without any of the other bullshit happening before. They are mortal enemies, and they probably always knew that it would end like this. So why the fuck did they have to go to Italy? Number 2. The characters have no clear motivation. Here's a question for you. Why does Nina go from fighting Heihachi in one cutscene to fighting for him in the next? Is it because A, he offers her something that she wants, or B, because she wants to use him to find Jin? The answer is actually neither. It's not hinted at a single time what Nina might be thinking in this story. It makes it impossible to care about anything that happens to her. Motivation is this cliche that people use to make fun of self-important actors, but it's actually really important for a character to work. Let's illustrate by going to the worst example of muddled motivation in the story, Kazumi. Playing through this story, you get no clear picture of what Kazumi actually wanted. It is written 3 ways at the same time as her planning to kill Heihachi all along, reluctantly deciding to kill Heihachi after years of happy marriage, and as having a second evil personality that wants to kill Heihachi while the normal Kazumi doesn't. Okay, so which is it? Should we feel sorry for her or be glad that she's dead? If she actually loved her family, why did she ask Akuma to kill Heihachi and her own son for her? Did the clan of demonic assassins that she comes from have any input on this? Did they care that she decided to marry and have kids with her target? Were they the ones who forced her to transform and turn on her family? Not a single thing about this is explained, which makes what could be the most tragic moment in Tekken history a cliched, confusing mess. Akuma is another great example. He made a promise to Kazumi to kill her family for her. When Heihachi asks why he waited this long to appear, Akuma answers that he was waiting for them to get stronger. What? The reason Kazumi wanted Akuma to kill her family was because they would cause war and massive destruction, but now they've already done that. Doesn't that mean that Akuma failed completely? And why? Because he wanted them to be stronger? That's another tired cliche in Japanese media. Strong characters wanting to fight other strong characters because they're interested in power. Problem being, in this case, it's in direct conflict with Akuma's only other goal. Why does he have his motivation from Street Fighter when he's being rewritten as a Tekken character with a new backstory? Why is he in the story at all? By the way, another great detail showing just how stupid Heihachi is after he killed his wife, he decided to throw Kazuya off a cliff to see if he was a demon too. His logic was that Kazuya could only survive the fall if he has the devil gene. But think about that for a moment. If Kazuya didn't survive the fall, that would mean that Heihachi just murdered his completely human son for no reason, meaning that the inciting incident of the entire story of the Tekken franchise is extremely stupid and makes no sense. Number 3. Suspension of disbelief is completely impossible. This game takes place in a world where humans turn into monsters and multinationals wage infinite war for world domination. When you're telling fantastical stories like this, the audience have to suspend their disbelief in the unrealistic to be able to care about the story. Otherwise, we're just sitting there going, that wouldn't happen, or that makes no sense to me, kind of like I'm doing right now, I guess. For example, you would be forgiven for asking how the G Corporation and Mishima Zaibatsu can blow up random cities around the globe without any real army or government saying anything about it. And I get it, this isn't the real world, it's a fantasy world where bears know karate, but if we're supposed to suspend our disbelief to that point, why is the United Nations in the story of this game? That's right, those soldiers who were trying to capture Jin in the desert in the beginning are not from G-Corp or the Zaibatsu, they are from the intelligence unit of the United Nations. Master Raven in the story of this game is an agent of the United Nations, meaning that this game takes place in a reality where World War II happened, and yet a Japanese arms manufacturer can rise to a level of power where it can attempt to violently conquer the rest of the world without any army or government being able to stop them. And in that version of reality, Heihachi, for some reason, still cares about his public image enough to go to fucking Italy and fuck around for half the game. I'm starting to believe he just wanted to take Nina out for some decent pizza. And there you have it, my thoughts on the story of Tekken 7. Here at the end, I just wanted to point out a couple of the things that I really liked about story mode. Like I said in the beginning, the point of this video was not to seriously criticize the game. I just wanted to poke fun at some of the insane writing that went into story mode, and hopefully this video has convinced you that the writing was insane. But the story also has some really cool moments. I love all of the cutscenes. I think they are beautifully made, especially the ones that transition from cutscene into gameplay. My favorite one is when Elisa is fighting Nina in the hallway. Nina dodges the missiles and they run at one another and clash. It looks really awesome, and it actually got me excited about the idea of playing those two characters, and so in that sense, I think story mode manages to achieve some of its goals. Now, I also appreciate the fact that making cutscenes like that is extremely difficult and expensive, and almost half of story mode just happens through expository dialogue over still images. And I think that's a fine way of telling a story if it's the most feasible way of doing it. And some of those images are actually really cool to look at, but I don't think it's an excuse for the writing to have no rhyme or reason. So hopefully when they make the next entry in the series, they worry a little bit more about writing the story first and then animating parts of that story using cutscenes instead of doing it the other way around, which is what I got the sense that they ended up doing with this game. But let me know what you guys think. Do you enjoy story mode? Is it the main reason you buy the game even? I'll be looking forward to reading your comments, and let me know if you're interested at all in seeing my own version of this story, and then you can rip me apart and tell me how it's even worse than what actually ended up in the game. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys again very soon.